Let me know your confidence level in Kalen DeBoer. Scale it for me 1 to 10 in the comment section of today's video. I'm talking development, recruiting, leadership, decision making, every single thing that really makes up a quality and very, very good head coach. Let me know your confidence level in Kalen DeBoer for me right now. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking some aftermath and some updates from Alabama's Junior Day. Of course, the Crimson Tide hosted over 20 recruits this past weekend for their Junior Day, and multiple top recruits in this 2026 recruiting cycle walked away very impressed from what they saw from Alabama. Steve Wiltfong of On3 also put out an article today, just kind of giving an overall summary update. So we're going to talk about some of the bigger names on that, or in that article that Steve Wiltfong had for us today. So the first player that we're going to talk about on today's video is 5-star wide receiver Tristen Keys. Tristen Keys really is one of the best players in the country this year. Number 16 overall. Number 2 wide receiver. Now, could be different depending on what site you're looking at. The composite rankings for 247 Sports right now has him as the number 2 wide receiver. Also, the number 1 player out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi as well. This is definitely a player that Alabama wants to get in this recruiting class because look, when it comes to wide receivers, Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, and now with the addition of Coach Grubb as well, they're definitely going to be going after some of these top players at that position, that being wide receiver. This is what Tristen Keys said about his visit to Alabama this past weekend. He said Coach Shep had a first, second, and third round, talking about pick in last year's draft. Coach DeBoer was a receivers coach before. He understands what we go through, things of that nature. You see they play freshmen. They had a big one this year with Ryan Williams. I feel if I do make the decision to go to Bama, it would be a great fit. They're a great offense. They're going to pass the ball. Great offensive linemen. And look, there's just a standard there. The standard is high. I feel like if I decide to come here, this is one of the schools I'd produce and grow at. Now, he also has a top 6 here. We'll make note, some other teams are also involved, but it seems like Alabama really very much so trending highly when it comes to Tristen Keys. Alabama, Miami, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Auburn, and Ole Miss, all some of those top teams right now for one of the best wide receivers in this 2026 recruiting class. So, it's going to be a while. We'll see. He's also going to still take some visits as well during the summertime. So we're going to have to see, kind of how those, official visits kind of trend there. But I think Alabama, as of right now, they got a pretty good shot, I think, at landing one of the best wide receivers in this 2026 recruiting cycle. So get down and like today's video for me. If you guys want Tristen Keys to commit to Alabama, that should be just about every single Alabama fan watching this video today. The more likes we get, the more chance Tristen Keys will commit to the Crimson Tide. So get down there and hit that like button for me right now. All right, the next player that we're going to talk about today is Brandon Arrington, another 5-star athlete as well. Now, Alabama right now is currently recruiting him as a cornerback, so they really do like him on the defensive side of the ball right now. Also, the number 3 player out of the state of California, and like we'll get to here in just a second, that connection, especially defensive backs to Alabama, that seems like that's going to be a pretty or it could be anyways, a key factor for Brandon Arrington if he were to commit to Alabama. Right now, Alabama, Oregon, Texas A&M, USC, Nebraska, and Oklahoma are in his top 6. Now, according to Steve Wiltfong as well, he said Alabama has become the one to beat when it comes to number 1 athlete Brandon Arrington. And, important note as well, this is just one visit. I would assume he's going to take multiple visits during the summertime to some of those other schools as well. Really, Alabama, Oregon, Texas A&M, I believe, were the main schools that he really talked about being favorites there. But, remember, just because they're saying Alabama is number 1 right now, take that a little bit with a grain of salt, because you remember back to last recruiting cycle, you had a guy like Caleb Cunningham, which every single school that he visited, it seemed like they were the number 1 school after he ended up visiting them. And he was committed to Alabama for a while, but then ended up flipping to Ole Miss. Look, at the end of the day, you just got to let those post-visit highs really cool down before you really start making legitimate assumptions, I think, to where these kids really kind of which way they're leaning. This is what Brandon Arrington said about his visit to Alabama. He said it was the best experience and visit that I've been to. Just everything. The bond I have with the players, all the cornerbacks at Alabama are all from California. We act the same. We talk the same. Everything is the same. It's going to be the trend. California defensive backs, just go to Alabama. And he is absolutely right when it comes to that. Look, you got Damani Jackson, Xavier Brown, Chuck McDonald from that 2020 5 recruiting class as well, all from modern day high school. You also got Dijon Lee from Mission Viejo High School. So that connection there, California defensive backs to Alabama, really has become a pipeline there. And look, recruits always, reference things feeling like they're at home. And I think that is more important when you talk about a kid that's coming from the state of California all the way across the country. When you get that at-home feel, that is a very positive thing. That, a lot of the times, is what recruits look like. You got some of those guys from California right here. I think that can be a very good positive note for Alabama. Look, and let's just see, if Alabama can take advantage of kind of that situation there for Brandon Arrington in this 2026 recruiting class. We'll continue on with a couple guys here in just a second, but today's show is presented by Game Time. You guys can get tickets to the big game now just by using Game Time. You guys can go down to New Orleans and use that Game Time Picks feature. It just makes getting tickets to see live events even easier, and it also just filters out all the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets to find the best value, whether you're going to a concert, a comedy show, a sporting event, everything that needs a ticket for the most part. Game Time has you covered. Let's go to a Willie Nelson concert coming up here in a couple months. Cat Williams coming to town this Saturday in Birmingham. You can also catch Alabama basketball here in just a couple of weeks playing Kentucky at home. You got baseball, softball, everything coming up here now as the spring semester really starts getting into the fold. So if you can, go check out any of those Alabama sporting events that you guys can. They have the all-in pricing feature. You just toggle this feature on, and it shows you the total upfront. So there are no surprise fees at checkout. They also have the best ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and redeem promo code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply. But again, create an account and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS. That's ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. That link will be in the comments section and the description of today's video. So download Game Time today. They have last-minute tickets at the lowest prices, all guaranteed. Anthony Jones was also on campus for Alabama this past weekend. Number one player out of the state of Alabama. Number one edge in this 2026 recruiting class as well. And the third 5-star now that we have talked about on today's video. And I will say this, Anthony Jones is my must-get in-state recruit for Alabama during this 2026 recruiting cycle. Look, Alabama last recruiting cycle, they did not land a single top 10 in-state recruit in that 2025 recruiting cycle. Now, some people out there are saying that the in-state class last cycle really wasn't the best class out there, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. I'll leave that to some of those smarter people out there to decide if that's the truth or if that's just kind of copium out there for Alabama fans and some people covering Alabama as well. But make no mistake about it, Anthony Jones is absolutely that dude, and you want him in this 2026 recruiting class for Alabama because, I've said it before, Auburn, they really did go off last recruiting cycle in terms of getting some of those top in-state players, in Alabama. Look, Anthony Jones did mention that it does feel like home to him, which, out-of-state guys, I'm like, yes, that's great. That's a very positive thing. In-state guys, I'm like, okay, you're from Mobile. It's only a 3-hour drive. Yeah, of course it's going to feel like home. So I kind of take it with a little bit of a grain of salt when it comes to some of those in-state guys. But like I said, Auburn really does kind of make me nervous when it comes to Anthony Jones. He did also attend their junior day as well. But, Oregon, Miami, Texas A&M, all those teams as well, they got that bag on them. So you never know when it comes to NIL how that can affect a recruit's decision. We're just going to have to see on Anthony Jones, but make no mistake about it. He is my must-get player in Alabama's 2026 recruiting class. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report as well. We've got free news and rumors videos for you guys all year long and all off season long as well. We're trying to beat that January number that we had for our sub count. We got 46 right now, just 4 days into the month of February. That's a phenomenal start. So help me out, help yourself out, stay up to date on all Alabama football news out there. Hit that sub button for me. It's youtube.com/@RollTideTV. Next player we're going to talk about on today's video is Sincere Johnson, one of the best names, in my opinion, in this 2026 recruiting cycle. Number 4 player out of the state of Ohio from Cleveland, Ohio. And as of right now, Alabama and Ohio State are his top 2. So, he's in the state of Ohio. You really need to do a number to really get him out of the state there. But almost a top 100 player in this 2026 cycle, number 108 overall. And we all know how, Kane Womack really does like to recruit that linebacker / edge rusher position. I would assume Sincere Johnson, Alabama's going to be recruiting him more as a middle linebacker, but some pretty solid stuff. Sincere Johnson on his visit to Alabama. He said, the vibe was great. It felt like home away from home. That continues to excite me is the brotherhood and the foundation of Alabama. The opportunity is something that I love being developed by the best and joining a program known for what they've accomplished. I will be back and take an official visit here. That's some very positive stuff right there, I think, from Sincere Johnson. So let me know here in the comments section who will be the next player to commit to Alabama's 2026 recruiting class. Only got one so far, but remember, last offseason, it really did take until about midsummer, June or July until Alabama started really racking up those 2025 recruits. So let me know, who do you think will be the next player to commit to Alabama's 2026 recruiting class? All right, last thing I want to talk about on today's show, I put it at the back end because it's kind of some bad news here. Jackson Cantwell, the number 1 offensive tackle, and according to some sites out there, the number 1 player overall in this 2026 cycle, has dropped Alabama from his top 6. He's got Georgia, Michigan, Miami, Missouri, Ohio State, and Oregon. Now, a lot of those teams, you're like, okay, yeah, that kind of does make sense. Some of the top programs in the country. And you got Missouri in there, and you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But he is from Missouri, so got to add that home state in there as well. And look, this does suck. He's the number 1 player in the country, especially at that offensive tackle position, one of those positions that you're a little bit light on right now in terms of your depth chart. But look, it is what it is. You can't get them all. I still have confidence in this staff to be able to recruit at a very high level. And with the hire of Ryan Grubb as well, that's only going to help you in terms of recruiting, especially at that skill position. When it comes to, wide receivers, running backs, I think it's going to help, recruit some of those quarterbacks as well. Because, look, last offseason you went out and you got arguably the best player out of high school in Keelan Russell. He won just about every single award out there. So, there's been some worries about Alabama possibly, having trouble recruiting a quarterback in this 2026 recruiting class. But I do think the addition of Ryan Grubb and also keeping Nick Sheridan on staff is really going to help when it comes to recruiting a quarterback in this 2026 cycle.